This is John Cola with okraw.com. Today another exciting episode for you. In this episode, I'm going to share with you guys the best low-cost vacuum blender you can buy that has a sound enclosure. I love this little guy because it has a sound enclosure. Keeps things about up to 10 decibels more quiet than an equivalent blender without the sound enclosure. Plus, of course, the reason why I'm reviewing this today for you guys is because it is a vacuum blender. Once you go back, you never go back, is what I like to say. Vacuum blending is the newest technology so that you can blend your mixtures without the extra added oxygen in your blends that'll basically cause more foam in your blends, cause more oxidative damage to your nutrients. Plus, when you drink vacuum blended mixtures, unlike traditionally blended mixtures, this does not impart and add a lot of air into the blended mixture. So now you're not drinking the air, which means you will have less gas, less belching, bloating when you're drinking your healthy smoothies. And let me not forget to mention that when you vacuum blend, you retain more nutrients, you keep a better color, the blends do not separate as quickly, and also you have a much better flavor. Vacuum blending is surely the way to go now in 2021. So if you don't have a blender yet, I only encourage you guys to get a vacuum blender. Blitzwolf Vacuum Blender is just one of the many different kinds you could get. There are many different vacuum blenders on the market, and all the time different companies contact me and want to send me their equipment to test. Most of them I turn down. But when Aliexpress contacted me to test the Blitzwolf Vacuum Blender, I'm like, yeah, send me the blender for free. I'll make a video, review it for my YouTube followers so that people could know about your machine, because I'm 100% about promoting vacuum blending to you. Now, I want you guys to understand that every different vacuum blender has its own sets of pros and cons. Things that are good about it, things that aren't so good about it. In my reviews, I try to go in depth and tell you guys about the pros and cons so that you know what they are, so that you can make an informed decision and buy the machine that's going to be best for you. Of course, you know, you're going to get pretty much Vitamix quality performance in this vacuum blender without spending the Vitamix price. That being said, you know, there are things you won't get with this machine that you will get from Vitamix. You will get a longer warranty and a US-based company to handle the warranty should you have any issues that come up. With the Blitzwolf, you may not even have a warranty, so I'll be covering that in a little bit. So I've used Aliexpress, the company that sponsored this video, so that I can make it for you guys in the past to buy different things from China directly and save a lot of money. A matter of fact, one of my most popular videos on this channel is how an $85 blender beat a $400 Vitamix. Link down below to that video. That was actually ordered on Aliexpress. You know, the thing I'm going to say is this: you guys get what you pay for. I don't have to tell you guys that. You know, if you pay a cheap price, you're going to get something cheap. Is it going to last? Is it going to be good? You know, I don't really know, but here's the thing. Aliexpress has a guarantee which ensures that you will actually get the item, number one. And number two, they have like a 15-day money-back, guarantee. Beyond that, I can't guarantee any other kind of warranty. So, you know, you're getting something cheap, and know that you may not get supported, and that the parts may not be available to replace individual parts, and that it may end up being a disposable blender. But while it's running, and if it runs for a long time, you might, you know, be in a really good position to spend only like under $250. And I've negotiated a special promotion code for you guys. It's going to work until like, I think, March of 2022 of AETechs. That's AETCHS at Aliexpress. Links down below to buy this very blender, or check out the Blitzwolf store. They sell many other different, you know, kitchen appliances. And so you could save $20 off your purchase. But yeah, this is actually a nice looking unit. Usually, you know, just a blender enclosure alone could cost up to $1,000 sometimes. So having a whole vacuum blender for under $250 to me is like an amazing deal. I don't know how they do it so cheap. Another thing I want to share with you guys is that Aliexpress can ship from different warehouses literally around the world depending on where you live. You know, in the olden days they would only ship from China, but now they have a new US warehouse. And actually my Blitzwolf was shipped from the US warehouse that literally I got in a few days after ordering. So that was completely amazing. I think the US warehouse does have limited quantities of certain items, probably such as this. So if you want it, order it now so you get it faster, otherwise it has to get shipped from China for you guys. So in this review, I'll be doing a few different blender tests that I commonly like to do with blenders when I get them. Number one, we're gonna do a dry blend test. So we're gonna grind up flax seeds into flax powder. Number two, I like to do a smoothie simulation test. So in this smoothie simulation test, I'm gonna basically just blend up sugarcane juice, which is kind of similar to water in consistency, along with 24 collard greens from my garden to see how fine of a particle size this blender will get. And then we'll run it through a sieve. In addition, the final test we'll be doing will be actually blending up some pomegranate arrows with the seeds. I want to see how well this unit blends up the seeds so that I could take that mash done under vacuum and then squeeze out the nutritious juice, thereby literally vacuum juicing. There's no other way to juice in the entire world that will make such a high quality juice, in my opinion, and I've been selling juicers for over 20 years now. I've been juicing since 1995, and vacuum juicing is simply the best way to do juicing. Links down below to my other channel where I have videos on vacuum juicing. Not everything can be vacuum juiced, but fruits are a no-brainer to vacuum juice. They will vacuum juice the best. So with that, let's get into my review of the Blitzwolf Vacuum Blender. So now I'm going to show you guys what comes with the Blitzwolf Vacuum Blender. When you get the box, it's basically just a brown box with styrofoam packing, and inside the packing you get basically the blender fully assembled for the most part. You get two lids, you get a tamper, you get an instruction manual and a little thing that says leave a review and talks about the warranty that I'll be going over, all right? So first thing is you get a standard lid with the Blitzwolf that you could use as standard lid. You could go ahead and take out the little lid plug here that's a little bit chintzy to me. It doesn't kind of like go in there easily and come out easily. But then you could also use a tamper, so you could use this like a Vitamix, you know, and the tamper only works when you're not vacuum blending, and the tamper would need to be used when the lid is completely up, like this, okay? I'll show you guys how that comes on. And then this is the lid that I use. That one just goes back in the box because I will not use a vacuum blender in its non-vacuum mode, ever. And this is the standard vacuum lid. It has basically a lock and unlock, so you gotta unlock it to open it. Then you can just basically lift it up. So I do like that this top is easier to open than other vacuum blenders due to the design they have. And you can see that the standard top would go on the carafe, and there's a little red dot there to line up with a red dot on the handle, and that's where that needs to be lined up. And then you can just use your standard tamper to tamp things in. I've never been a fan of tampers, I don't really like them. The thing the tamper allows you to do is make things that are a lot thicker, that don't have enough water content, so you can basically force them into the blade to get blended. Under vacuum blending, you can't have it open, so it must be sealed. So then that means you need to modify your recipe to maybe have a little bit more liquids or cut things smaller so that it can blend without you having to agitate it with that tamper. This carafe, it's a BPA-free, so I like that a lot. It's the Eastman Triton copolymer. It has a nice big star 4-prong blade in there. Let me go ahead and feel the blade. The blade is actually quite sharp, so I would not recommend feeling it in there. You may cut your finger. Not as sharp as, say, like the Trivest Dynapro that I've tested. But I do like the container shape because it is more squat and wide, which allows you to more easily do things like vacuum juicing, and it allows you to blend things that may not have as much liquid. If you have a taller carafe, especially during vacuum blending, you need to make sure you have enough liquid. So I like these style carafes. Now, this is advertised as a 1.5 liter capacity. On here it says maximum capacity. On this side of the carafe it says 1.5 liters. But if we turn over to this side, it says maximum capacity 58 ounces. But 1.5 liters is approximately 50 ounces. And then of course you can fill it a lot higher, but the issue that you have with filling the blender higher, especially under vacuum, is that you could suck up liquids through the top into the built-in vacuum motor, and that would probably cause the failure of your vacuum motor, which means then your vacuum blender would cease to function and no longer function with the built-in vacuum pump, although you could use some kind of manual pump on this little outlet here if you kind of figured something out. Now, the top is basically a two-piece top. You have the one main top, and then I don't know if you guys could see that, but underneath here, there's a piece that unscrews, right? There's another blender on the market that I've used with this same piece, and I'm not the biggest fan of this. This piece is on here so that you don't get things into your one-way vacuum valve, which is very important. This is how the machine is able to put a vacuum seal and make a vacuum seal with the carafe. And this part actually just pops out, and this is just a standard part they even use in, like, I think in aquariums for like making sure there's a one-way valve in the air bubblers or whatever. So I like that this is easily replaceable. Should it get damaged, it just kind of just plugs in to the top of this carafe. So this is probably a really simple, easy design, provided no liquids get in there. And then this part goes on to protect it. And what happens is if you don't screw this part on and you just screw it in a little bit haphazardly, as the blender's working, this thing rotates, and as it rotates, and this happened to me on the other blender, it actually could fall off into your blender and then get blended up. So now you're blending in plastic with your smoothies. So I'm not a big fan of that. That being said, you should always have this in place. Otherwise, you could get liquid in here and damage this one-way valve. So if you're when you take this off for cleaning, because you got to clean up in here, you want to take it off, and then when you put it back in, you want to make sure that you screw it on completely tight. Once it's to, finger tight, and then maybe tighten it even more as much as you can so that it does not fall off during blending, because that is definitely no fun. I think I was blending like a durian smoothie and I got plastic bits in there and I was really frustrated. So, this style vacuum top has its pros because there's not like a little tab thing you gotta, pull on to like undo the vacuum lock, but you have this part that may fall out. Alright, so to put this lid on, you line up this little red dot here with the red dot in the handle, and it just locks in place, and then you have this little arrow thing here, a little thing. It goes back and forth, so it's unlock, and it goes to lock. So once you have the top in, you want to put it to lock. This will allow it to achieve a vacuum. If it's in the unlock state, that's when it allows you to basically lift it up, and I really like how this is designed. You can just put this down. You could just get your hand on there and use your thumb to basically push it up in the unlocked state. Once it is in the lock state with the vacuum, it makes it really difficult to take it up because you have a vacuum airlock in there. When you unlock it, it takes that airlock off so that you can easily open it. So I kind of like this. I like this a little bit easy. It's a little bit easier to use than other vacuum blenders that you actually got to lift up and then pull a little tab at the same time. So we're just going to go ahead and put this in the lock position. Alright, that's the carafe there. Next, we're going to go over the user manual. So the user manual, pretty much black and white user manual. It's in different languages: English, French, German, Italian, Spanish, and Japanese. And honestly, only the first 5 pages, literally, are in English. And that gives you the basic instructions that you'll need to operate the unit. You also get this little card, and I'll read off this card for you guys. It says, "You have an 18-month manufacturer warranty, so let us turn that frown upside down. Tell us your story now." But then it says at the bottom, it says, "Ordered via Amazon or other retailer, ? Please contact them directly for warranty claims." Which would mean, like, if you bought it from Amazon or from Aliexpress, for example, you would contact Amazon or Aliexpress for your warranty. Amazon and Aliexpress are not in the warranty business. They'll give you a return policy so that you can return it. On Amazon, it's usually 30 days. During the holidays, it's 90 days. But on Aliexpress, it's only 15 days. So this would mean to me that it's implied that you don't have a warranty unless you buy maybe directly from Blitzwolf. And I don't even think you could even do that because they'll send you to a different website to buy it. So I'm not exactly sure. So heed that as a warning. Understand that if you buy a machine from Aliexpress, you may or may not have a warranty. In addition, parts are not stocked for this machine in the US. They stock the whole machine, but no parts. So if they have to send you replacement parts, they're going to come from China, if they even do that, and it's going to take quite a bit of time to get to you, if they even send them. Now, the next thing is we're going to go over this whole blender here. I do like the sound enclosure. It is really nice and clean looking. And then, let's see, it has nice action on it. It's nice and heavy duty. clear plastic. Next you have this little thing that goes up and down. This is actually how it sucks the air out of the unit. And then if we look down here, you have like a sound dampening pad, which is actually a bit thinner than most sound dampening pads, say like on a Vitamix. You have a classic, metal contact to metal contact on the coupler for the motor to the blade assembly. Although the sides are metal, the bottom is plastic. This is held on with a Allen wrench, because I took this pad off, and then when I popped the pad off, this thing popped off, which means to me like it was not Allen screwed all the way in, so I actually had to get an Allen wrench and screw it in so it's completely tight. And then you have an on and off button over on the side, so this is the master on and off. You can turn it on or turn it off. And then this, in the US anyways, they have a 3-prong cord that gets plugged in. And then on the bottom of the screen, I want to go over this for you guys, because I tell like it is in my videos, good, bad, indifferent. It says Blitzwolf. This is CE, so they can sell this in Europe. I mean, it's ETL certified, which is actually good. It says 1500 watts, 1.5 liter, 120 volts, 60 hertz countertop blender. Now there are little feet. There's 4 little feet on the bottom of the blender. So there's like little rubber feet, 1, 2, 3, and on my 4th one, it is just missing. It never came with it. I've checked the box, I've checked everywhere, and these feet do not just easily pull out. Like you pull out this little foot, it kind of springs back in. So the only thing I could believe is that at the factory at Blitzwolf, they never put in my 4th foot. So I'll be contacting them through their email address here, and we're gonna see if they send me the foot. I'm not a betting man, but if I was a betting man, I would bet you a lot of money that they're actually not going to send me the foot. I will post a comment under this video and pin it to the top with an update if they do send me the foot or not. If I do not add a comment, that means they never sent me the foot, which is kind of what I expect. So that's pretty much the blender. Let's go ahead and turn it on. Once you turn it on, it'll make a beep, and now you have a secondary on-off button you need to press. It's right here on the control panel. It's just kind of flashing blue. You press that once, then the display lights up. Now you have several different options. So let's go ahead and put the carafe in place. Let's go ahead and put this top thing down, and then it clicks in place. To lift it up, you need to kind of press this little latch, and then it comes up out of the way. We're going to clip it down in place. Make sure this is in the lock position. We're going to close the lid. So now you have a couple different functions you can do with the Blitzwolf. You have this dial control, so you can actually just manually control it from speed 1 all the way up to speed 10, and this has a gentle ramp, which is what I appreciate. If you put it on speed 10, it won't automatically go to high speed. It'll start slow and then slowly build up to 10. That way you don't get glugging and splattering inside your blender carafe, so I like that a lot. You also have a vacuum only function. I'll show you guys how to use that function in a little bit to benefit you. And then you also have just some pre-programmed cycles, things like ice, like a frozen, like maybe a smoothie, maybe fresh blending, nuts, soups, which runs for 3 minutes, and a cleaning cycle for 15. So you're going to go to fresh. It comes up with 30 seconds. You can also then adjust the time higher or lower if you need a longer blending time. You also have a vacuum on-off button. So for me, I will always leave the vacuum on because I believe that would be a benefit, but if you're just blending with a standard lid, you don't need to have the vacuum on because it doesn't matter. And then you also have a pulse button that you can just press momentarily and it'll pulse. The motor sounds nice and meaty and nice and powerful. Go ahead and let that stop. And I guess what we're going to do now is we're going on the vacuum only mode. So when you go to vacuum only mode, it'll only pull a vacuum on the container, and we're just going to go ahead and put in vacuum mode and hit the start button. As you guys can hear, there's a little pump inside the Blitzwolf that is now pumping the oxygen out of the container. Alright, so it just shut off, and now let's go ahead and take our carafe out. We're going to press this to lift up the little arm. We're going to take our carafe off, and I'm going to listen for leaks. I hear no leaks, so that's a good thing. This is currently in the lock position, so you can't take off the lid. And now listen carefully as I release the vacuum. You could hear all the excess air run out, and now you can lift up the lid. That's pretty much how this works. I mean, it's pretty simple and easy. I do like the controls and how they've set this up. So you basically just have a dial speed control on one side, and then you have the pre-programmed functions that you can increase or decrease the time. You have that pulse, and you could turn out the vacuum if you want it. For me, I'm always going to leave the vacuum on. So now I want to do my first test of the Blitzwolf, and we're going to start by basically blending a half a cup of flax seeds into flax meal or flax powder. This is a common test I like to do to see if the blender could handle literally grinding up seeds that are dry into a powder. It's very important if you are eating flax seeds, which I do encourage you guys to do. They're very high in omega-3 fatty acids that are essential fats for us. Most Americans eat far too many omega-6s, so it's great to eat some flax seeds every single day. I would say at least a tablespoon, to offset your omega-3 to 6 balance in favor of omega-3s. And also it's been shown that flax seeds have things like lignans and other anti-cancer properties. I think they did a test with ladies and breast cancer, and it's quite effective. Anyways, we got them in there. We're going to go ahead and line up the red dot with the handle, put that in place. We're going to go ahead and set it to lock. We're going to go ahead and put this on the unit, drop down this little lever arm, drop down the main lid, and we're going to go ahead and hit start while it's on the vacuum only, because I want to make sure this is done under vacuum. Alright, once the vacuum pump shuts off, you've achieved vacuum on the craft, provided you're in the lock position, which I am, and now you can blend. I'm going to go ahead and put this over to the blend area, and we're going to hit the pulse button. You guys can see all the flax getting grinded up. I just do pulse a couple times to get it kind of going. And then once I have it going a little bit, then I'll just crank it up to high and hit start. Alright, so I've stopped the unit, and let's go ahead and find out what we got here. Once again, we got to push that lever up, move that out of the way, and like to tap down all the sides a little bit. We're going to go ahead and let out the vacuum, and I want you guys to watch the flax in the bottom. Alright, we had a good vacuum for sure. Lift this top off. As you guys can see, man, we got some nice flax meal. It looks nice and fine to me, so let's go ahead and see what we got here. We're going to go ahead and put it in a little jar. We're going to dump the flax meal through my sieve here to see how many large pieces are left. Alright, we got all the flax in there. Now we're just going to go ahead and shake this down to sift it out. Just got done sifting it out, and as you guys can see, there's very few seeds that did not get ground up. Now I could improve this by maybe blending a bit longer, but what happens is because these seeds, once you start to blend them, they get kind of gummy. Some of the seeds will be down stuck in the corners that'll never get blended by the blender. The only way that's really going to happen is if you have a high-speed blender that the blades are running really fast, and literally the air force is basically blasting the seeds out of the corner. Because this has a more fat-wide craft, I think the seeds got stuck a little bit more, but as compared to other vacuum blenders blending seeds, I mean, this did a quite acceptable job. Alright, so just getting done re-blending those flax seeds, and it really worked quite well this time. So I think the main thing is if you add lesser quantity, so maybe don't put a half cup, because this had enough force to just get that small amount of flax seeds to literally hover above the blade and not get trapped in the corners. Let's go ahead and lift that out and tap that down here. And as you guys can see, we got some stuck to the side, but as you guys can see, we have a really nice fine powder at this point. Even finer than the first time. Now I'm going to show you guys actually how you can vacuum seal a 16 ounce or 8 ounce mason jar. It will not work for a 32 or 24 ounce. You're just going to go ahead and take a mason jar with a flat lid, put it on top. You're going to take a trim ring and just put it on so it's loosely touching. You're going to go ahead and then take your lid. You need to make sure you take this protector thing off. It's pretty much nice and clean in there. You're going to go ahead and then put your jar into the blender. You will then put the lid on, line it up, put it to lock. Make sure this is on vacuum only mode, very important, otherwise you're going to be blending up glass. We're going to go ahead and then put the top down. We're going to go ahead and hit start. Once again, vacuum only mode. What this does is it evacuates the excess oxygen out of the craft, but at the same time it's doing that, it's also evacuating the excess oxygen out of the jar at the same time, forcing the lid down, so you'll be storing your smoothies, flax meal, or anything under vacuum. To me, it's very important, you know, if you're making it under vacuum, to store it under vacuum without the excess oxygen. Foods will spoil faster, you know, when there's oxygen in there. Even if there's just a little space at the top, it'll cause your food to go bad sooner rather than later. So I always will vacuum save my foods so they stay fresh 2-3 times longer when I vacuum save them versus when I don't. Alright, so the blender just shut off. Let's go ahead and remove this off, and let's check to see if we got a vacuum sealed jar. Let the air out. We're going to go ahead and take the jar out. We can go ahead and remove the trim ring. And now what we do is we just take this and turn it upside down. If we did not have a vacuum, this lid would just drop off. But if you look closely, this lid is kind of concave because it's sucked down. So if we just lift this lid up, I want you guys to listen carefully. It had a nice mild vacuum on there. There's other techniques I would use to vacuum save jars versus this, but this did work to put a nice mild vacuum on the jar. Alright, let's go ahead and once again screw this protector piece back in place and make sure it's nice and tight. And now let's go ahead and do our next demo. Alright, the next demo I'll be doing for you guys today is simply making like a smoothie. And we got basically 3 cups of liquid. In this case, this is a sugar cane juice. Juice with lemon in there, made fresh. And then I have basically overflowing 4 cups loose pack of collard greens, fresh washed and picked from my garden, that we'll go ahead and put in there. You know, I do encourage you guys to pre-cut things like greens. Normally they'd be in long, large leaves, but if you pre-cut into smaller pieces, the blender could more effectively blend them up under vacuum. Also make sure you have enough liquid in here so that it will blend properly. So there we got all the greens in there plus the sugar cane juice. We're going to go ahead and put this lid on, lock it into place. We're going to go ahead and put this back up on the Blitzwolf, put that down, put the sound enclosure down, and we're just going to go ahead and first just put it on vacuum only mode. I'm going to go ahead and hit start, get the vacuum to come up. I like to manually vacuum everything and not just have it automatically work, although you could do that. If you are using the automatic blend cycles, you need to make sure you press the vacuum on off. When the vacuum on off button is pressed and it is actually lit up, that means it will vacuum. If the vacuum on off button is, you know, little light here is not lit up, that means it'll just start to blend without the vacuum process. Alright, so the vacuum pump shut off. We're going to go ahead and then put it on the fresh setting, and we're going to go ahead and crank the time up to 1 minute and 15 seconds. In 1 minute and 15 seconds, they should pretty much be able to blend all this into a nice fine mixture. But let's go ahead and start it. Alright, so the blender just shut off, and when it's done, it'll beep at you to let you know. You go ahead and then remove this, remove the top, and now we're gonna go. I want you guys to look at the mixture carefully while I let the vacuum back in. Alright, and we're gonna lift that off. This vacuum blender does produce a bit more bubbles than other vacuum blenders I've tested. Let's go ahead and see how well it actually blended everything up. I mean, we let it run 1 minute and 15 seconds. It's not really hot. That being said, you probably could have ran it 45 seconds. I got a pretty good, you know, solid blend there. But at 1 minute and 15 seconds, we should got down to a pretty good fine consistency and texture. Pretty much what's happening now is that I'm straining it through, and if I just tap this down, the particles are small enough to basically just go through the holes of the sieve. So if I just kept tapping, there would be nothing left. And we're going to go ahead and try the pulp here for you guys so I can taste the texture. That's interesting. It's like you taste the bitterness of the collards, but then you also have the sweetness of the sugar cane. But for texture, tasting this, the pulp, it's really fine. There's no large chunks, so that's a good thing. Alright, so now we're going to try the drink, and I gotta say, I am surprised at how many air bubbles were put in during the vacuum blending process. It is normal that some air bubbles will be created during vacuum blending, even under a vacuum. But this seemed to me that it was maybe a little bit more than other vacuum blenders would be. But once again, I'm not doing a side-by-side comparison. But that being said, I do use vacuum blenders every day in my life, you know, for the last 3 years or something. And this seems to put actually a fair bit of foam. Man, that's an interesting mixture I've made. The collards are balanced out by the sugarcane, but it kind of almost ruined the sugarcane juice because the sugarcane juice doesn't taste as good with the collards than without. Although I can say the collard greens probably taste a bit better. Overall, I'm about to give this a passing grade for the fineness smoothie test. It really ground the greens up to a nice fine texture. That'd be comparable to, say, a Vitamix, in my personal opinion. Now we're going to do my last test of the Blitzwolf Vacuum Blender, and in this test, actually, I'm going to be doing vacuum juicing. I'm like thinking, wait a second, John, blenders blend, they make smoothies, they don't make juice. Well, if you couple a vacuum blender with a nut milk bag, you can then use the nut milk bag to basically strain out all the pulp. I know some people do this with a non-vacuum blender, but I do not recommend that because when you're blending in a non-vacuum blender, you're literally bombarding the mixture with a lot of oxygen that lowers the nutrition. That's just not good. It oxidizes it more and then it tastes really horrible. So today I'm vacuum blending probably one of the healthiest fruits you guys can eat, which is pomegranate arils. I've literally de-seeded about, I don't know, 1.5 liters of pomegranate arils that's in this container. So we're just going to go ahead and put this into the blender carafe here. So as you guys can see, we pretty much got this filled to the maximum capacity mark. We're going to go ahead and then put our lid on. Make sure it's in the open position, shove it down, put it to lock. We're going to go ahead and put it on the base. We're going to go ahead and then put the top down and put the sound enclosure dome top down. And this time I think I'll go ahead and make sure it's on the vacuum on mode. So the light is on the vacuum on. And I think we probably won't need more than, well, I'd say probably like about a minute on this blend. So it's on fresh. We're going to crank it up to 1 minute. And then we're going to go ahead and hit the start button. So now fully automatic, what's going to happen is this pump will come on, the blender will suck out the oxygen, and then the blender will blend for 1 minute and then shut itself off. So if you have other things to do, you don't have to babysit this blender, just press start. You could go ahead and, you know, run to the bathroom, take care of your kids, you know, do your makeup for the day and come back and your blender should be done blending. So let's go ahead and see how this works. All right, vacuum pump came on, that's the first step. This is definitely good. So as you guys just saw, this blender vacuumed and blended without even me having to babysit it. I come back and it's all done. We have a nice pink mixture. Let's go ahead and open this up and see what it looks like on the inside. Lift this up. Once again, pull this off. We're gonna go ahead and release the vacuum. All right, that had a nice, good, solid vacuum feel, like it sucked out a lot of vacuum. Always like to tap down a little bit. And as you guys can see, it's actually fairly clean, not a lot of splatter on the top. And let's go ahead and pour this mixture into the nut milk bag. So if you guys are wondering, the nut milk bag I recommend is at alexasbags.com. I'll hopefully soon have a promotion code so you guys can get a discount on it. I don't know when they'll be available, but that's where they will be available if you want the same exact bag I use. Let's go ahead and pour this mixture into our juicing nut milk bag. Alright, so just looking at this mixture and what's left in the carafe, it looks like it's done a very literally fine job in blending up all the pomegranate arils and the pomegranate fruit themselves. And I barely see any like grits. It's almost like the same consistency of the flax, but even better because it basically was done you know, with the liquid of the little you know, pomegranates. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and scoop out all the rest that's stuck around this blender. This blender does have these flutes that are a little harder to get around to scoop all your mixture out. To me, pomegranate juice is probably one of the most healthiest juices you guys can drink. specifically due to its polyphenol content. There's a lot of research on the polyphenol content. Plus, when you're juicing pomegranates in this way, you're now getting the beneficial fatty acids and the beneficial fats of the pomegranate arils that are normally in standard juicers. You know, when you just press out the liquid of the pomegranate juice, you don't get that benefit as well. So this is more of a whole food form of juice. Although I am removing some of the fiber, some of the insoluble fiber, I'll be keeping the soluble fiber in my juice. All right, so I scraped this carafe out fairly well. And just the flutes make it kind of difficult. The way this carafe is designed, it makes it fairly difficult to get every last bit out. So I'm not the biggest fan of that, although it actually did work quite well. And now to basically juice this, all we need to do is we need to lift up this. And we're gonna go ahead and simply wring this out. And all the juice flows through the nice small holes of this nut milk bag, and all the fiber is left inside. The other thing I like about this bag compared to others is that it is super simple and easy to clean. This is like the easiest nut milk bag I have to clean. I basically just take it outside, literally, and spray it off with a garden hose on high power, and it just basically blows free all the little fibers that are trapped and stuck in there without any scrubbing. Alright, so I'm just about done wringing this out. Literally, I'm just wringing it out like the olden days to make my juice. And I think we made probably about a quart of juice, and we have all the pulp left inside here. So we're going to first show you guys the juice that we made. It's nice and pink here. Nice clean juice, no fiber left in it due to the nut milk bag, alexisbags.com. And we literally made like a quart of juice from the 1500 or 1.5 quarts that I started with, and we're gonna go ahead and try this for you guys. Wow, man, that tastes completely incredible. Made under vacuum. I don't think I've made fresh, straight pomegranate juice before under vacuum. This is the best way to make pomegranate, guys. It's so sweet. You get the fatty acids from like the seeds. It just tastes more rich because you got the fat totally extracted under vacuum, so you're not oxidizing those valuable polyphenols as shown in science to retain like up to 3 times more polyphenols when you vacuum blend versus when you don't. I want to remind you guys, one of the reasons, many reasons why pomegranate juice is so good is because the polyphenols in there feed our gut microbiome, including a microbe known as Akkermansia, that's really good, supposedly from what I hear, in healing your stomach lining. And so by vacuum blending, you're going to have more of the polyphenols to feed your gut bacteria, and maybe you'll even have a healthier gut because of it. I can't claim that because there's no science on that, but I would bet money on it if it was me. These polyphenols count. Anyways. So on the nut milk bag, once I'm done, I pretty much just kind of shake this down a little bit. I'll sometimes flick the sides a little bit to kind of get it a little bit clean, so that all the pulp kind of goes to the bottom. And then I could go ahead and then dump out, flick it a little bit, get all the pulp out. Look at that pulp, guys. This is completely impressive. I mean, and number one, it's dry. Number two, if I dehydrated this now and I could have like a pomegranate, seed pulp, which is also probably still nutritious. I'm not seeing any large bits of pomegranate at all, like any parts of the arils. I mean, it's just literally, if I dehydrated this, it would be a fine powder. And I will also taste test this so you guys know what it tastes like. It's a pretty fine powder. Some of the seeds were kind of hard, so I taste them, but this pulp is very dry. It's like basically a very neutral flavor. Actually, this would be good to dehydrate and then add to baked goods, or use it fresh and add to baked goods to give it like a pink coloring to add nutrients. For the most part, I mean, this blender did an excellent job at grinding up those pomegranate arils into a nice fine consistency. As fine to say a Vitamix would do, in my opinion. And as a bonus, I got some pink hands. So in the end of this episode, I'm going to share with you guys my final comments on the Blitzwolf Vacuum Blender. Now, what do I think? Number one, I think it is an insane value. You know, when I started and got into raw foods, like 26 years ago now, you know, a blender that looked like this, and it looks kind of like commercial style with a sound enclosure, I've always dreamed of having one. They're like $1,000, right, for like a good Vitamix. With the Blitzwolf, you literally get Vitamix performance in a unit that costs less than even a Vitamix you get at Costco, like half the price of a Vitamix at Costco or other places, right, with the sound enclosure. Now, I will say that the sound enclosure did help a little bit, maybe reduce the decibels between 7 and 10 decibels, 10 decibels max. But that being said, a blender running at high speed is still rather loud. And I did notice, you know, there's a venting in the back of the machine, which then causes some of the motor noise to come out. So it was still a little bit loud running at the super high speed, how I like to run my blenders. I really liked how this is programmable and ramps up the speeds. You know, if you want to go to speed 10, it doesn't just go to speed 10 and glug everything up inside the carafe. It starts out slow. I like that you can do vacuum only function if you want and then do your own blend, or you can also have it to vacuum and then blend, or you could actually just have it blend without the vacuum at all. That being said, I would never use this blender without the vacuum function. I think that's really the key on what makes it good. Let's see here. Oh, I didn't like how when my feet was missing. That was not good, not a good sign of good quality control. And I'm going to contact them, see if they'll send me an extra foot so I have a completed unit. And then I really like this carafe. I like the design of the carafe, how it's like short and squat and kind of wider. This is a lot better for doing like this last blended mixture if you want to do vacuum juicing. I do vacuum juicing of like straight celery, which would work perfectly in this container, especially along with the pulse controls you guys have on there. Make the best celery juice with the highest yield, most nutrient quality. Link down below to my video on how to basically make a vacuum juiced celery. So I like the carafe. I like how clear this carafe is. I like that it's made out of the Eastman Triton. I like how sharp the blades are and the nice weight of this carafe. Let's see on the lid. I really like how the lid, how you can actually remove it easily by using this lever to remove the vacuum before you lift it off, because most vacuum blenders the lids are still stuck on under suction, so you gotta lift the tab while you're lifting up, which is a little bit inconvenient. I did not like about the lid this little piece here that unscrews, because on another blender that worked just like this one, this ended up dropping into my smoothie one day because I had forgotten to tighten it up, and I know, you know, quite well that I'm supposed to tighten it properly, and I thought I did, but I didn't. And I usually pay attention to these things, so make sure, if you guys get this, make sure this is completely tightened down so that it does not drop into your smoothie, because that'll wreck your day. I mean, the one thing that I would say, I haven't checked the vacuum on this and how much, like, you know, how many inches of mercury it pulls, but to me the vacuum seems comparable to other vacuum blenders on the market, although with the sugarcane collard green juice, I did notice more foam than I would normally see, I believe, on other vacuum blenders. But on this recipe, it worked great. I didn't like how it also sealed the Flax jar only. There was a very weak vacuum on that jar, and I'm not exactly sure what's going on. Maybe in some of the earlier demos, maybe there's some Flax particles because I didn't clean it right after the use, and then that prevented from getting a full vacuum potentially. But it really worked well on this pomegranate blend with basically no foam in the mixture. Also, please be aware that some items you blend, even under vacuum, will create some foam. There's things called saponins in certain plants, and the saponins are like a soap. That's how they make the soap nuts. And that'll just cause more foam in your smoothies, even under vacuum. So be aware of that. So that may have played a contributing factor, or maybe there was an issue with maybe not vacuuming enough. But in the other recipes, it seemed to work sufficiently for me. Now, the only other thing, the comment that I'll say about this machine that I'm not the biggest fan of is the warranty. I'm unclear on the warranty status, and if I even have a warranty, and even if the company, which is located over in China, will provide good customer service and parts and or replacement should this machine break. Of course, with Aliexpress, you have a 15-day money-back return policy, you know. But after that, it's like you buy it, you own it. So That's what you must weigh out. If you're willing to take that chance, you buy, you own it, or you're gonna have to put your confidence in Blitzwolf that they're producing good quality machines that are gonna last a long time, or is this just a throwaway Chinese blender? That being said, you could spend, 3 times the price and get a Dynapro, which is made in South Korea, has a full 15-year warranty, the longest warranty on any blender or even vacuum blender that I'm aware of for home use. It is actually also commercially certified. It has a similar kind of, fatter carafe, but it's actually 2 liters, but you're paying like 3 times more money for it. So, that's up to you, but that machine doesn't have a sound enclosure, and actually has a separate vacuum pump that runs on batteries that I'm not the biggest fan of. But this, for an all-in-one unit, man, if you just want to get vacuum blending and want something that looks nice to like impress your friends, because I mean this looks like an impressive unit, I'd say go for it, but be aware of the warranty. May not have one, and it may be disposable if it ever breaks on you. All right, and that's probably my only caveats. Otherwise, the performance, I was satisfied with the performance. Okay, and so that's pretty much it. If you guys want to get this unit, link down below to get it from Aliexpress. Once again, use that coupon code AETECHS, TECHS, for a $20 discount off a $200 or more purchase. This machine's selling for a little bit more than $200, so you will be able to use the coupon code, get this machine for less, and you can start vacuum blending today. So that's pretty much it for this episode. If you guys enjoyed this episode, hey, please be sure to give this video a thumbs up, and also please be sure to share this video with somebody else so that they could learn about the all-new Blitzwolf Vacuum Blender with sound enclosure that you could get on Aliexpress. But more importantly, they could learn about the benefits of vacuum blending, because unfortunately most people still do not know about vacuum blending, despite me putting out videos on it since like 2018, trying to educate people about it and what a big difference that it makes. And once you go back, you never go back. Also, be sure to click that subscribe button right down below so you don't miss my new and upcoming episodes that come out every 5 to 7 days. You never know where I'll show up or what you'll be learning on my YouTube channel. Make sure you click the little bell so you get notified as my videos come out. And finally, be sure to check my past episodes. I have plenty of videos on testing other blenders on this channel, including a $55 vacuum blender that is still now available that you may want to consider, as well as testing other blenders from Aliexpress, non-vacuum, against the Vitamix, that actually the Chinese blender beat the Vitamix. I just love testing all these appliances and share with you guys what they do and giving you guys the honest truth about what happens, and so that you guys can get the best appliance to process more fruits and vegetables so that you can eat them, because fruits and vegetables are the best foods on the entire planet, in my personal opinion. So with that, my name is John Kohler with okraw.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, remember, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables. They're always the best.